channel we have. There we go. There we go.
Oh,
We are on and we are live. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We had another call before this and it ran a little bit over, but that's okay. We are here. So, Laura, I'm going to kind of let you two take over most of this call till the end because it's between both of you. I personally don't do rentals. So, I'm going to take me off the screen temporarily and let you guys kind of go and introduce Dawn.
okay. How many do we have here live right now, Liz?
We have, hold on a second. We have 10 on this, and I don't know about the other ones. I'm trying to see how I can get both of you on here.
Okay. So
Let's see.
what I would like to ask is how many here are interested in long-term rental or long-term and short-term? Kind of give us a feedback, long-term, long-term, or both. Short-term meaning Airbnb. So if we can get the interaction, Elizabeth, can you give me some of the feedback? And the reason we're asking is today we are actually broken out from long term and short term. I'm going to let Dawn explain and talk about short term because actually that's her specialty right now. That's what she's doing. She's doing long term as well, but she's also doing short term, and she's the best one at talking on that, which is Airbnb.
Real quick, we have answers coming in. So we're streaming in multiple places, just so everyone knows. So we have Facebook fan page, we have our group, which is where you're going to see a lot of where I can read the questions from. They're saying long term. We're LinkedIn, we're on YouTube right now. So we have long term, both long term, and short term, interested in Airbnb, long term, both. So we have a good mix of everybody.
Kind of 50-50 then. Yeah, so 50-50. Okay. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction about the long term and specifically how I started doing long term. And then I'm going to pass on to Dawn and let her talk about how she got into the short term. And like I said, she still does both, by the way. Okay, so I started doing long term back in '91, and back then there was no short term, by the way, but back then I came across some training with carton sheets that talked about doing basically lease options and sandwich lease options. So talking with proper people that wanted to rent their properties and see about renting their properties with the possibility to buy it in the future and then create a sandwich lease where you sublease it to somebody else. So that's actually how I started getting my rental business. With that, as well as you go out there and start talking to different people, connecting with different potential sellers, I found out about REOs, real estate owned by the bank, basically foreclosures. And then I came across other situations like owner financing, contract for deeds, all kinds of different things. So the best thing is once you start having these conversations out there with people that want to rent their properties and you start to see if maybe they want to rent and sell it in the future, then other things pull together. So by the end of 92, I had 16 properties in my portfolio, mainly multifamily, because the other thing I realized is that, especially for the long-term rent, is that I was getting more money per building, right? So it was maybe a little more than a single family home, but not that much. But the rental income was proportionate so much higher. So that's what I did. So I started buying. I bought the first one actually I bought was a 2 units, and then I bought couple single family. But then I went into 2 and 4 units. I also bought a 6 and an 8 units as well, which is considered commercial. So by the end of 92, I had over 40 doors, this portfolio, and most of it was done with all kind of creative financing from lease option, contract for deed, owner financing, and so forth. And then I went in what they call nowadays the BRRRR method, right? You buy, you rehab, you rent, refinance, and repeat. So you buy a property, you use private money, you fix up the property. Now you improve the value of the property, so you rent it out. So the income on the property from the rental plus the improvement lets you refinance it, so you can pay off whoever you're financing it with, the private lender or the owner, and then you also pull in a little bit of cash on top of that, and then you reinvest it. Because for me, real estate is like a monopoly game, right? You make money from real estate to buy more and better real estate. So that's the thing that I started doing. So that's when it went into long term. Then successfully, I sold some of my rentals because then I realized some areas to me made more sense than others. So I liquidated the areas that I didn't have an interest in. I started focusing more in certain areas that made more sense. But that's how I built up started building up my long-term rentals. Now, Dawn, let's give a little bit of your wisdom with Airbnbs.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually got into Airbnbs on accident. Um, my boyfriend at the time wanted to buy a property, and we rehabbed it together and lived in it for about 2 months. And then he got sent to another job site because he was working remotely. And so I didn't want to live in this place by myself. And so I said, hey, why don't we Airbnb it? And, if it covers the mortgage, then great. And so that's how we got into our first Airbnb about 7 years ago. And I took that model and I was able to apply it to other investment properties that we've picked up along the way, and saw how much of a difference of a return we were getting on multiplexes and things like that, where we could do like a mixed mode and do half long term and then half short term, and still have that reliable income, and then also be able to capitalize on some of the units and the income coming in.
Great. And now fast forward into today. How many? I know that some of your long terms they can go back and forth between long term and short term, but how many would you say you have as Airbnb percentage wise on your properties?
Oh, that's a good question. I have to look at that. So we're right around 30 units. I've never done it as a percentage though of what we run, because some of our Airbnb or short and midterm rentals, they're arbitrage. So we don't actually own them, meaning we rent from other landlords and then we put them on the short and midterm market in order to capitalize on the difference in what we're paying in rent and what we're bringing in for profit. But I would say that the rest of our portfolio is long-term rentals. I should look to see what our percentage is, because I've never actually analyzed it that way.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah,
so you do a lot of what they call also Airbnb arbitrage, correct?
correct.
Okay. Do you want to explain a little bit about that? Because it's basically a lease option situation, right? So you want to explain a little more how it works with short-term rentals?
Yeah, so I basically came into arbitrage on accident as well. I was JVing with a partner in South Carolina, and the reason why we were even JVing was because they have too many projects. They were wholesaler slash investor like we were, and so they were doing flips and picking up rentals with the income that they were making from their flips. And they had too many projects, but they didn't want to wholesale them out, and so they asked to partner because they needed the manpower. And so we started working together, and then I saw that they were putting a lot of rentals out. And then, we talked about how I do Airbnb and possibly partnering to do Airbnb. And they're like, oh, like we'd love to, but we're not really sure. And I was like, well, will you let me rent, from you to Airbnb? And they said, absolutely. So by doing this, I have control over the property. I just pay rent every month. I come in, I furnish, and then I throw my listing up on all the different platforms that we're on, and we get booked.
Great. Okay. So, the fact is, guys, it's like you don't need a lot of money to get into rentals, right? Like I started with lease options, and Don also has done arbitrage. So there are different ways to come into this arena instead of doing the usual way of putting 20% down and buy a property. So, but you need to have a couple of things, I think, that have to work for you. Number one, if you do work with private lenders, or you need to have a little bit of experience. Private lenders will look at you much more favorable if you do, unless you know somebody personally that can loan you the money. Or number two, you need to have some type of funds in reserves, to do that. I mean, personally, my mistake when I started buying rentals in 91, I had some funds, but not enough to support how aggressive I was. And so at the end of the day, I was buying this property that needed work, or there were foreclosures, and there was the tenants moving out, work that had to be done that wasn't disclosed, and things of that nature. So I ran out of funds pretty fast because I didn't have much in reserve, accounting for possibilities like that. So those are the things I always tell people, either you have some funds in reserve you can tap into, especially if you want to be pretty aggressive about it, or you need to have some experience, better both. So with that said, you don't need it though. So some of you are in a situation right now where you do have the money. One of the things I suggest though, and I'm sure Don agrees with that, is that, to have somebody that you can follow the lead. Tony Robbins always say, find somebody that's been successful in doing what you want to do and follow what they're doing. They're going to expedite you a curve. They're going to expedite where you want to go, because I know personally I've done a lot of mistakes starting out, and costly mistakes. I was telling somebody this morning, I had an attorney on retainer for the first 5 years in my business because there was stuff that I was getting myself into all the time. So, I've been coaching and training people in long-term rentals. Now we brought Dawn on board to teach about Airbnb and Airbnb arbitrage, and also rentals as well. Actually, she's going to be a regular coach here in our community starting in a couple of weeks, and teaching people how to do rentals in Airbnb, because that's the new hot thing. So how many here would love to learn more about rentals and Airbnbs? Let's put something in the chat. How many here are seriously interested in rentals and Airbnb? Or you're just kind of here today just to find out if it's something that might be even of interest?
No, they're definitely filling it out. They're saying me. Yes, I would. Yes, please. Please, yes. Yes, me. Okay. It's going crazy. At least in the Facebook group. Now, I'm not seeing it on the other ones just yet, but we would see that in the stream here.
Okay. Yeah. So just to let everybody know, there's a couple of ways that you can learn. Number one, we are having an event next weekend. Okay, we're having an event for 2 days. Dawn is going to be there in person teaching about rentals and Airbnb. I'm going to be there too, but actually I'm going to kind of give that part of the business for Dawn to really teach, because, we have different ways of coming about it. We agree, obviously, in the ways we come. And so she's going to be there. Now, I want to also add a side note that Dawn actually was part of our community as a student for a little while. So she knows where I'm coming from and how I teach and everything else. So we're very much in alignment of how we present this information. But she's going to be there to teach about Airbnb and rentals. So how many here would love to get more information about the retreat? Comment, and we are going to reach out to you this afternoon to get you more information, okay? Now, also, we're going to teach in the retreat about wholesaling, fix and flip. Obviously, Dawn is going to go into long-term rentals, but she's going to be there in person. Second thing, Dawn is also, like I said, coming on board here as a coach, consistent coach. She has been doing calls with us for a while, but now she's going to be consistently coaching every week about long-term rental and short-term Airbnb, starting here as soon as the retreat is over in, I think, the beginning of February. So if you're interested in learning from Dawn, she also has a program that she's putting out about teaching specifically about rentals and Airbnb. Okay, so if you're interested in that, again, comment here today under the slide, and we'll reach out to you and see how you can learn more and be part of the community. So, if you can make it to the event, the retreat, you're going to get a lot of information jam-packed in just a couple of days of access to the retreat, a lot more than just rental Airbnbs. We're also going to have private lenders there. We're having private lenders that can loan you. So if you're interested in guys in doing, getting rentals, fix and flip, and all the stuff, we're having actually private lenders attending the retreat, having their own, so you can talk to somebody live. So we have a title company there if you have questions about title. And these are all geared for investors. This retreat is about investors, but it's also called Make It Happen for a reason, because we don't want anybody kicking tires. We want people who wants to make 2023 the year for real estate investing. There's a lot of things happening. One of the things I say in 2023, people are wondering what's going to happen. Actually, great things are happening in 2023 for real estate, because as an investor, you want to look at the opportunities. right? You want to look at what is happening that could be actually a wrinkle or a problem in the market so you can fix and take advantage of that void. So you have to look at things a little different than just a regular real estate. What is the feedback, Liz? Anyone?
Yeah, so they said, put me on the list. I would love Dawn's information. So what we are going to do, I am ready. So what we are going to do is I want you to PM, Amanda, can you comment? So Amanda's you're going to comment her, PM her and tell her you're interested in this course. And when we go to launch it, you will get a special invite to be able to be a part of the launch and get to see more of what is included in the course and everything like that. So she just commented there. As well as if you're on our other streams, just go ahead and message us. You can email us at questions@realestateinvestingwomen.com. And when we go to launch this here in the next month or so, we are going to also do that. Now, they said they're definitely interested. They are in the contest for the free tickets that we're offering right now. So that's great as well that you'll get to meet Dawn next weekend. She will be there all weekend, so you will get to meet her as well. So you'll have plenty of opportunities to get to see her.
Great. Okay, so now, Elizabeth, what do we do next?
So we are going to open up for an Ask Us Anything here in just a minute. First, I want to do the raffle winner. But let me explain a little bit about how the raffle is won, and I'm also going to pull it up here. Give me 1 second. I got to get it pulled up. 1 second. So how this is ran is you have to be a part of our Facebook group right now. Unfortunately, I can't check all the comments on all the streams. But if you're in our Facebook group, if you're not, definitely join that, okay? So you have to be in our Facebook group, and the person that comments the most throughout the week gets entered into this raffle. So I'm trying to get it to pull up here, but I'm going to just see if I can share my screen. Okay, so once you are entered in and you've commented like crazy, Facebook actually will tell us who has commented, not liked, but commented the most in the last week in our group. And you get entered into this weekly raffle that we do during our lives on Thursday. Amanda actually picked this one out. This is our raffle for this week. Everyone says they are loving the stone and the candle when we ask what's their favorite. So go and join our Facebook group if you haven't already, if you're not already in there and you're watching on another platform. But this is the raffle winner, the winning box. So I'm going to stop the share so that I can actually pull up the winner. The winner is, who's excited? I want to see it in the comments here. Who's excited to see it? Oh, I see some coming in here. But who's excited for this box? Who wants to win it? I wonder if they're on. I'm going to do it real quick. Waiting. Just so you know, Dawn, there's a little bit of a delay, about 10 seconds or so from when we say something to when we start seeing the comments. Okay. All right. Winner is, they're excited. Okay. Winner is, drum roll, Bobby Joe Murphy. So congratulations, Bobby Joe Murphy. You won, which is amazing. She's actually a student of ours, but she comments and she's participating. And so you won. So how to win to get in is you have to go into an email, Amanda, within the week, by the next live, your address, phone number, and full name. And we will do that as well. So make sure she has to come back and watch the live to see that she won. So that's super exciting, but congratulations, Bobby Joe. So now what we are going to do, oh, look, everyone's celebrating her in the chat. That's great. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to move into Q&A. So what I would love now is how this works is we allow on our Ask Us Anything one question per person. This is your year, Bobby. Yes, it is. So one question per person. So go ahead and get your questions in. And we will start asking. This could be for Dawn or for Laura or anything. It could be any question. So I'm just waiting. It's the downfall of the delay. Amanda, if you can post the information on the retreat. I don't know if it went through. I haven't seen it since they went crazy but I'm going to post it here for the other streams. This is the information for the retreat that is next weekend. I'm just waiting for questions. Go ahead and ask, ladies, on any of the streams. I guess you guys explain things so well, we don't have any questions coming through. Oh, here we go. Okay. This is in our Facebook group, so I'm not able to feature it onto the live, unfortunately, but I did pin if you wanted to go comment there so we could feature your question. Do you need approval from single-family homeowners for arbitrage?
Yes, I highly recommend that, because what will happen is if you don't have approval and then you spend all the money and effort to set up your Airbnb and then they find out you're doing that, then you have to shut down. So I definitely recommend getting approval. Also, you'll want to add different clauses into your lease that protect you. So you can't really do that if you're trying to be sneaky.
Perfect. Next question that came through is, let's see, is Raina, are you making positive, this is for Dawn, are you making positive cash flow on all of your rentals?
Absolutely. That is one of the biggest requirements when we are purchasing, is if a deal if it's not positive cash flowing, then we will move on from it. So yes, all of our deals that we've done and the rentals, the long-term rentals we have, are all definitely positive cash flow.
Okay, Kelly's asking, Dawn, how much do you typically spend to furnish Airbnb? Airbnb is hot right now. You're going to get a lot of questions for you.
So that one varies. It really depends on the area. We actually just did this huge revamp of a bunch of our listings that I did from the beginning that we hadn't basically updated. And it ranges. It really depends on what price point you're looking for, and the look and style. So, I mean, I worked with a designer this time around, which made a huge difference, but she was also creative enough that we were able to locate some secondhand furniture, which made a really big difference. So it really varies. If you're crafty and you're able to design on your own, I'm sure that you could do a space for less. I generally say between 3,000 to 5,000 for like a 1 bedroom, and then it's additional, 10 to 20 per square foot after that, depending on how nice. If you're going for upscale, you're obviously going to spend a lot more money, right? But I think that serves as a great base, and then depending on your market and where you're located and cost of goods and things like that, it'll change.
Okay. Now, because she came and commented on our fan page, we can feature this. She's asking you, this is Laura Smith. I had to go back and find out who it was. But she is asking, why do you arbitrage and not own?
So arbitrage allowed me to be in more spaces at a cheaper price, right? So doing arbitrage is a fraction of the requirement that you would need. So, I mean, think about it. So for arbitrage, you basically just need to come up with first and last security, maybe first, last, and security, and then the cost to furnish, which you could easily do, I feel like, depending on where you're at, for let's say under 10 grand, where if you're buying a house, I mean, a down payment is automatically going to be right there already more than 10 grand plus furnishing. So, depending on which market you're in, we chose to do arbitrage to grow faster in the short and midterm rental space, just because we saw how lucrative it was. However, we still try to own when we can. I mean, we're not opposed to owning, because me, when a good deal comes up, we definitely move. So we still do both. We're not like, oh, we only do arbitrage now, or oh, we only own now. It really depends on the deal and what the numbers pan out to be.
Great. And so off of YouTube, we have a question and we only allow one per person. So I know you asked two. I only allow one just to be fair. Where to start when you are a beginner in real estate and you want to get into Airbnb?
So I think it's best to start in your backyard if you can. However, you still need to do your due diligence. I really think that people can start out doing arbitrage in their backyard. It's just a matter of knowing how to analyze a market and seeing what the numbers are. Um, but yeah, I think it's a great way to start. I know a lot of people are starting that way because they don't have the excess funds to just buy a house to Airbnb or midterm or whatever it is.
She said that answers my questions. Thank you, Dawn.
Great, yeah. Backyard
Back
is
into
better.
Yeah, back into the group. But if you guys can find us on like our fan page or YouTube for the question portion, it'd be great. That way, if it's a little bit longer, Dawn or Laura can actually read the question, and it's just easier for them to answer. But I'm going to move back into the group, and there's some long ones coming up. I'm just warning you. Amanda's asking, what is your determining factor to distinguish properties from short-term to long-term rentals? Location and what else?
Location is definitely a big one. Profitability for that area, and if there's a draw. Just for example, like we have long-term rentals in South Carolina, and we also have short and midterm rentals. We basically look at the area, we look at what's around it, and just determine whether or not like the street is good, if the area is good, if it's, if people are going to be spooked because the area is not quite, where it needs to be for a short or midterm rental. I feel like that's a huge determining factor. And then basically what other hosts are making in that area, because the last thing you want to do is invest in an area for shorter midterm rentals and then not be profiting what you are looking to make. So those are the two big factors in my opinion.
Great. Okay. Lily's asking, Dawn mentioned renting from landlords. Do you rent as a tenant?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. And I'm not saying that there's not a space to partner with the landlord. That's also another strategy that you could go. But you can do that, or you can rent. We do that in South Florida too. We are a renter. It actually blows my mind how much we pay out in rent, and I just remind myself, okay, we are profiting well above what we pay in rent, so no need to focus on that.
Perfect. Sonia's asking, this is a little longer. I was trying to get on the other chat link. Okay. I was wondering if you have heard that there has been a decrease in occupancy rates in B&Bs, but still a steady increase in B&B properties. This was a recent article on BiggerPockets.
So this is kind of a multifaceted yes and no. Airbnb messed with their algorithm over Christmas break, and they're slowly coming back off of that. So I think that really affected a lot of people's bookings that they were getting. However, I think if anything, it just taught people not to put all of their eggs in one basket. So, I mean, I know other hosts that are still definitely getting bookings on VRBO. There's Furnish Finder if you wanted to do midterm with a hybrid model where you're focusing more on people who are at least staying for 30 days minimum, and then you fill in the blanks with the short-term bookings. I mean, I think that's a great way to combat it. It's its own model in my opinion. But yeah, I think if you're on multiple platforms that you shouldn't have an issue as long as you did the research on your area and that people are still coming to that area. I don't see why not. I mean, we haven't experienced that. I mean, South Florida right now is hot because it's season, and Greenville is the opposite because it's wintertime. So have we had a slowdown in the winter? Yes, but we expect that. And there's ways to combat that before the slow season approaches. So if you were a newer host and didn't understand, I guess the wave, then of course it's going to come off as something that's scary. Oh my God, people aren't booking. But I mean, you have to take into seasonal factors and things like that. But people are definitely still moving and traveling. So
they are loving you in this group. Okay. Sharon is asking, this could actually go for both of you. I found a property owned by a couple who are deceased. I am assuming the family never transferred ownership. I know the family, potential rental. It is listed as a foreclosure and listed by local realtor, but I'm not sure where to start to reach out, family or realtor.
Well, she said something to the effect that she's not sure if they started, the probate process, right? So my suggestion is that's where you start. Find out where they are. So whoever is on title has to sign off at the end. So the fact that it's on the MLS makes me think that there is already some person that's responsible that they assigned as a next of kin. So you want to find out who the person is. So my suggestion is you can talk to the real estate agent and find out if that's been finalized, if that's in the process of the next of kin that's going to sign off on it. And if it is, then there you go. If not, then you would have to approach, if the agent is clueless and he doesn't know what he's doing, so probably he has a listing agreement that's not even valid because obviously who is supposed to sign it's not even there anymore. So then you would approach the family and see if you can help and go for the probate. Sometimes I step in and help people actually go for the probate. I get them in contact with an attorney, make sure that I put a contract on the property with the attorney to show my interest into the property while they go through the process. Okay. And then, and I even pay for the probate fee, so that I have full control of that situation. But yeah, I would start with the agent, find out where they are, if I got the next of kin, who signed off on the listing agreement. And if that seems like it's kind of hazy, then go to the family.
Awesome. Okay, and last question I saw come in, that was their first question, is from Diane. I just gotta find it. Give me a second. What markets are you in?
Currently?
I'm assuming, yes.
So I'm in the South Florida market. I am in the Orlando market, and I am in the Greenville, South Carolina market.
So see, this can be done virtual, y'all. This can be done virtual. I mean, she does fly back and forth a lot, but she does a lot of this virtual too.
But that's because I actually have active renovations going on. If I didn't have any active renovations that I chose not to participate in, I probably wouldn't travel as much. But I like having a hand in the renovations I do. And that's really why I travel so much, because I'm in Greenville right now. I spent my week basically working with my contractor to solidify the floor plan that I came up with to maximize the profit on this property. And I came up with the kitchen layout. So, if I worked with a contractor that did all those things and I just signed off on, whatever it was that we agreed on payment, then I probably wouldn't be here. But I like being hands-on in that way. So that's the reason why I fly and I am traveling. Otherwise, you guys know, in the wintertime, I'm in Florida because I coach softball. Yep. So I can't travel as much, and I'm locked down to my team during the week. But yeah, that's the only reason why I travel.
It's the only time I can track her down to hang out with her.
Yeah.
No, that's great though. But also she does, I don't know if she mentioned this because I'm also trying to read all the comments, is she does fix and flip. So on top of everything else she does, she fix and flips. And she's my age. So for those of you that think I can't do this, at my age or what have you, you can do this at any age. She built this starting in her 20s.
Absolutely.
So, and you'll hear more about her story at the retreat. So if you're coming to the retreat, come to the retreat. Okay, we had 2 more single questions that came in since then.
Come up and introduce yourself at the retreat too. I would love to meet you guys.
Definitely. Yeah, come up to her, say hi, get to know her. Okay, so Felicia's asking, how long of a lease does Dawn recommend for Airbnb arbitrage?
If you're new, I would do a minimum of a year. If you can swing a longer contract, then I would do a longer contract. Right now, I think I'm going on year 5 in one of my contracts. Yeah, because I feel like the longer you can lock in your rate, the better off you are. But obviously, there's like that, that you have to build that trust with that landlord. But what's great about that is once they see that you do a great job and you're taking care of their property, is they give you first dibs on whatever else they have coming up. And we have that in South Carolina, and I love it. What more could you ask for? Oh, what do you have coming up? Oh, we have these listings. Okay, great. I'll take this one and this one. No competition. That's it. So that's the way to go, in my opinion.
Fantastic. Really good answer. And then The last question I'm going to take, because we have another call here with our students at 12, is do you manage your own rentals or do you hire a manager? And this could be for both of you.
I'll say what I do. So
okay.
that is my background. I grew up in property management, and I have been, I guess, around my parents my entire life to see how they operated in that way, just like you've been around your mom, right, investing. So we chose in South Carolina to bring on team members that help execute the certain tasks in our property management business, but I still oversee everything and advise, when something is out of the norm. So we formed our own property management company, but I think it just depends on what type of investor you want to be. I was actually just talking to someone about this yesterday that, they wanted to get into rentals, but they're like, oh, I don't know how I feel about, doing the property management, or, do I hire someone to do that? I think it really depends on the property that you're bringing in. And, I explained when you buy a property, you add value to it. For it to need anything done, in the first couple of years, you shouldn't have any major issues because you're already renovated and things are new. So why spend the money on a property manager, if you just need to oversee a little bit of here and there? But that's just me because that's my background. So if you don't want to deal with people, which my husband doesn't, then, you might want to hand over the property management to another company. But you have to be honest with yourself, right?
Yeah, personally, I kind of do both in the sense when I started, I was managing my own property, then I hired a company. But, I found out that they never really do as well as you do, right? Because they're interested, they're managing 1,000 units. It doesn't matter to them if I'm going to rent somebody else's before yours. To you, am I going to make my mortgage payment or not, right? So, your level of interest. So what my suggestion is, and I've done that with the students too, once they start reaching about 10 properties, even if they manage on their own, I tell them hire somebody to manage for you. So now what I say, I like to use what I call a boutique property manager, somebody that just works for my properties. And that's what I do to this day. I've now used big companies for 20 plus years. We always hire, but like Dawn does too. Once you start having enough properties, then it justifies for you to have somebody that just manages your own property, that does maintenance on your own property, just somebody that works just for you. To me, the number has been anywhere from 10 to 15, even with my students. And that's why years ago I created the property management division, because I had to manage my own property. And then I also offer the services to my clients that would buy property from me. But I see about 10 to 15 to be the number where you start saying, you know what, I need to bring somebody else here. But then I suggest you bring somebody to just work for you.
Yeah, I also want to add to that when you're under, the 10 doors is if you're actively doing other projects like I am, like if you know that you're either working on a flip or working on other properties, it's so much easier to have your contractors stop by and you have the right people who are already doing those things for you that you could say, hey, on the way home, could you just stop by my rental property and check this out? And because they work for you, it's easy as opposed to, having to find someone new or, going through whoever the property managers companies that they work with. Because, at the end of the day, if it's the people working for you, that they're going to give you an honest opinion and they're not going to price gouge you.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. Because property management companies make money from also doing the maintenance, right? If they charge you if they cost them $50, they're going to charge you $75. So that's how they make their money. I mean, I had a property management company for many years. That's how we made their money. So it wasn't only the 10% and the leasing fee, it was also all the other stuff that goes. So you want to really kind of cut the middleman at some point. I prefer paying somebody and they know they work for me and they have my best interest at heart in keeping my properties full, instead of relying on other people that do this as a business and they're going to cover their expenses before they care about yours. So that's my opinion.
Well, thank you so much, Dawn, for getting on. They loved you in the group. There we have a lot of viewers, so this is definitely something that is a very hot topic. So just to remind you all, we are going to be here. She's going to be at our retreat next weekend. Amanda's been posting the link. I'm going to go ahead and pin it. If you have not decided to come. Our cheapest ticket right now is $197 for general admission. You get to meet Dawn. You get to hang out with her. She's going to talk on Airbnb and short-term rentals here. And it's just going to be a phenomenal retreat. There's going to be, you guys met Juan throughout the posts that I've been doing. He's there. Some of you have been in classes that he's taught for us. Our students definitely know him. He's one of our calls. And it's going to be phenomenal. You're going to meet Jimmy and Patricia. Amazing people, all amazing people. If you want to be there, definitely click that link. The tickets are super cheap right now. They will be going up closer to the end of next week, just because we have to give our final count to the hotel on Monday. So I'm definitely saying that, and they say they're looking forward to meeting you next weekend, Dawn. So great. Well, thank you so much for being on today. Thank you for taking time out of your day to talk to the women, and we will talk to you all soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.